In this video, I want to discuss the false prophet who called himself Troy Black. His first book that he wrote was called Don't Worry, a motivational book. This guy claims he's a prophet, yet like Joel Osteen, his main message is nothing more than motivational. His main message does not bear any resemblance to Amos, does not bear any resemblance to Jeremiah, does not bear any resemblance to the New Testament prophets, but rather he speaks like a wolf wearing sheep clothing. I remembered, let me go in detail. I remembered when Christians were wondering whether they should take the vaccine. And they were saying that the vaccine was mark of the beast, etc., regarding Revelation chapter 13, blah, blah, blah. And conveniently, Troy Black claimed that God spoke to him. He claimed that God spoke to him specifically, whether it's imagination, auditory, right? But he claimed that God told him specifically about the vaccine. But when you break it down, you begin to realize that he matches his prophecies in accordance to what the world or the government want from you. In other words, he's never ever spoken like a true prophet when they says things are wrong, exposing, sin, LGBTQ. He's never ever done that. He's always played it safely. In other words, he's nothing more than an astrologer or a generic prophet. And he's so like Joel Osteen. Rest in the storm. God is telling me. In fact, God talks to him every single day of the week. If you look at the Bible, God only spoke to the prophets when he wanted to reveal his will, his messianic will, when Christ would come into the flesh, etc. He only revealed his will for a specific occasion. What's interesting, Troy Black claims that God's told about September, God told about October, December, God told about the vaccine. Every single day of the week, God speaks to him. But his message is, he's the prophetic Joel Osteen. He's the prophet that tells people what they want to hear. That despite God's punishing the planet, don't worry, do a bit of shopping and you buy a glass of milk and a cookie. Don't worry, rest in the storm. In other words, he's nothing more than an uplifting, motivational prophet. Rather than a preacher, he's an uplifting, motivational prophet. He knows full well if he starts to really talk like the Old Testament, he would have no followers. If you look at the Old Testament, Jesus says, you killed all the prophets. Not one prophet of God was ever loved. Not one prophet of God had hundreds, never mind 20 people following them. Which means if you are loved and cherished by the people, if people come to you every day for a message, you can guarantee you're a false prophet, because Jesus says they killed all the prophets. Prophets were never liked. because they told you things that you don't want to hear. A lot of modern day so-called prophets, they tell you things that you want to hear because they're scared their monetization, their money will stop. So they have to tickle your ears. Oh, if not, God's talking to me, but he's telling you this. Don't worry, you'll get through it all. That's big money. They said that there's thousands of false prophets in America, thousands in Britain and America, and only 1%, if that, is genuine. Just like there's thousands of preachers and apostles in the world, but only 1% is genuine. But you know something? The fake ones get more followers. Do you know why? That's what people want. They don't want genuine, which is why when Jesus preached hard and all the people left him, and Jesus said to the disciples, do you want to leave also? To which they replied, Lord, you are life. You are the key to life. Where can we go? All the people, they rather choose hell. They didn't want to choose Christ. Because his ways were too hard. So if they can turn away from the living God, turn away from him, imagine what they would do today. They would turn away from truth for false prophet, false teachers, false pastors. Like Troy Black, Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollars. Because why? As long as you make people feel good about themselves. Don't expose LGBTQ. Notice God talks to him every day. But Troy Black has nothing to say about LGBTQ mocking Jesus Christ at gay pride. He has nothing to say about that. In other words, he's nothing more than a political announcement, but he's turning it into a prophecy. That's all he is. He's looking at politics and guessworking, as the Bible says, speaking from his own imagination. Guessworking. Well, this is what's going to happen. I'll put God to it. And he knows there are many gullible people out there who don't know his tricks and what he's up to. Many gullible people. Hence why God told him about the vaccine. In other words, you don't even have to watch the video. You know full well he's going to be endorsing certain things. Why? Because if he was against it, his video would be taken off air. So you don't have to guess, what's God saying about the vaccine? What's God saying? You know full well what Troy Black is saying. He's getting paid. Why? Because if he was really going to tell you the truth, his video would have been taken off YouTube. And many people who followed him, where are you going to draw the line? Where next? If the government want to manipulate you into devil worshipping, what are you going to do? And Troy Black says, well, it's okay because God tells you to respect all religions. Where are you going to draw the line? Where do you start to draw the line with these people, with these false spirits? Where do you draw the line? How far and how long are you going to compromise your faith for these deceptive, self-serving false prophets? He started out as a motivational, book writer, and he began to realize, something like Kanye West. There's loads of gullible Christians, just like Star Trek is now. They're cashing in on the rapture. You'd be surprised how many people are deceiving the Christian church, just like Kanye West. But the Christians, they don't want to know. As long as you tell them beautiful things, they don't care who call themselves prophet, they'll follow them. And that's why the church is in a bad mess.